I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I don't know why. Just do a sound check. I heard that. It's working fine. Must be your end, Sam.
Testing, 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 testing.
Better, much better.
That works now? Okay. All right. I bought a $40 microphone that doesn't work.
Yeah. Is it from Amazon?
No, it's from Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Although it sounds like you're kind of far away from your microphone.
I
Or
am.
your microphone sensitivity is set relatively low.
How is that better now? No.
Normally
Okay.
you come through much better than this.
Yes. I've just tested it, so it's probably reset itself.
Okay.
Any better?
Let's keep going because it may be just again on my side. You know.
Okay.
But other noises here are coming through quite loud, and I have the speaker set on maximum now, and you're still barely audible. Actually, let me check that. What's going on? Actually, I'll live with it. Hey, one of the things I wanted to say today, though, is Jaswinder, at 11 o'clock, which is about 3 hours from now, I have an appointment with the veterinarian, and I have to take Zeus in. So I would like to keep my participation today to about an hour so I can, I guess, focus on that. We may decide to keep him going. We may decide that he's had enough, but it's going to be a tough call either way.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to make you host if that's all right.
Okay.
I have some more prepared links to share, as well as a bunch of other old stuff to review. But while it's just you and I, let's just catch up here. How's the week for you?
Say that again, please.
How was your week?
My week was very good. There's a new baby in the house. There are people visiting. It's been a busy day already. I've had to go out and do some shopping and things because there's shortages in the house. Get some milk, some sweet stuff, and help with the cooking, peel the potatoes, peel the onions, that sort of thing. So it's good.
Did you attend the sessions? Was there a session yesterday?
Yes.
Who?
Nobody turned up again. I was intending to host the session yesterday, but I was too busy. Tammy asked me and I said I was too busy, but I checked it anyway. Nobody hosted it. and people didn't turn up. Thursday there was a session. We had Annie, Dougie, me, Alex, Josh, and maybe one more. It wasn't anything spectacular. We just a session. I would call it a marking time session. And there wasn't anything of any depth. There wasn't anything particularly new. You know, people who have memory problems, and to a certain extent we're included, what we did last week was superb. This week, because there's been a gap in between, most people have gone back to their default setting and they don't remember what was discussed last week. There's no continuation from last week. So I'm up until this week, I was of the opinion, which I stated in the poll you did, that we were getting somewhere, and it seemed like it.
You're not coming through anymore. Did your microphone get muted or disconnected?
I haven't touched anything. I have not touched anything.
I cannot hear you.
I can hear him, if you can hear me.
Let's see if it's on my side.
How you doing, Jazz?
I'm good, how are you?
Not too bad. What's the weather like over in England?
It's dull, crowded, cloudy, and it's cold.
Well, it's about the same here.
Although I'm just going to switch to a different computer. This one looks like it's not working. I was trying to keep the rest of the house undisturbed, so I'm in a different room. But I'm going to go back to my office and restart there. I'll be there 1 second.
Okay.
I was about to say it's awful pretty here this time of year with all the fall leaves.
I had a walk to the nearest village, which is about a couple of kilometers away, and I walked on the canal the long way around. Yeah, the autumn colors are superb. The reddish browns are kicking in. It made me kind of wonder, well, what happens to the zinc in the chloroform molecule? How? It must be replaced with something to change the color.
I was thinking more of my youth.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's starting to get there for me. I'm starting to appreciate Father Time.
You know, the actual pace of life and life itself was entirely different. The people we were surrounded by, their education level was much lower. Expectation was much lower. The majority of people in the UK especially were living week to week. It was a very poor country 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And then we had a fairly good 20 odd years up to the mid-80s. And mid-80s onwards till now, this country has been in the grip of conservatism, who are milking it.
I just got done listening to the other flank, which is this identity liberalism. Yeah, not the individual, but I'll label you by your, but what I think of you, because this
political party I follow, yeah.
Because this study says so, and it got published. I posted it in the GCC. It was underneath it was a really interesting talk if anybody wants to go see it. It's underneath my one about the philosophy of science and religion. All very interesting topics of how to find the arrow into the better direction. If there is one, that is. Sometimes it just is what it is.
There's always a better direction.
Well, that's a topic for exploration sometime. I'm all about trying to map out the best direction.
Beware the person who actually knows it.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey for sure. And if you can find people that are willing to be a little open-minded and gracious in listening, and then they don't run away, you can have quite a conversation with one of these maps, I found. How's it going now, Sam? It's all good?
If you can hear me and if you can see me, then I fixed my problems.
Yes, I can. And
Yeah. Hey, Amanda.
You look like you're in the right place.
Well, I was downstairs earlier trying to not disturb the rest of the house. As I mentioned to Jaswinder, I have an appointment this morning in a couple hours to take Zeus into the veterinarian and make a very hard decision about whether he tries to keep it going for another week or two or whether he's had enough.
I was telling you about Lily. She got put down a couple days ago.
I'm sorry to hear that, Colin.
Yeah, well, that dog went an extra couple laps and made a lot of love, so, you know.
And it's tough right now, too, because we have 10 of Zeus's puppies who are now just approaching 3 weeks old. And they are really, really darling. So it's kind of a happy and a sad time all at the same time.
Indeed.
So anyway, I just told Jaswinder that I'd likely be keeping my participation today to about 1 hour. I've already made Jaswinder host. So he will moderate after my departure, and hopefully you will give him as happy a time as you give me. So I could use that as my check-in today. That's basically my check-in, is that actually one more thing is that on Monday I'm flying to Chicago for 3 days. So there's a very busy 3-day trip, and I'm back Wednesday night. So back into BAU, business as usual, on Thursday. But it'll be hectic Monday through Wednesday, and I will not be focused on GCC items through that period. I'm normally not during the week anyway, but I did create a bunch of things this week that I was hoping to show you guys later. That's it for me. That's my optional check-in.
I had a Doberman, owned cancer. I went through the same sort of thing as you, just trying to decide what to do. And when I could see that the limp was getting quite severe, well, they were still bounding around and taking the pain. It wasn't a very old dog. This is just my opinion, and it isn't the only animal I've had to have put down. But I thought about it, and I thought, if that was me, I'd like to go while I'm still in good capacity. So I decided that it should be done earlier on, not wait for him to be immobile and put him in a box and carry him and all that. It took him while he could walk and stayed with him through the whole process. Very strong dog, very big heart. Took about half an hour. That's my check-in. I'm complete.
I think I had to check in while you were rearranging yourself. Waiting to hear back from another job, hopeful. That's about it. And been still studying a lot of coding, C++ especially, Python. Worked on an interesting Node.js app with Express that allow you to do sync video. Looking to produce that so that I can have a sort of a way to stitch together gems in real time and interactively, so that it's a living book in a way. Yeah, that's my check-in.
Hello, Amanda. Very nice to see you again.
We cannot hear you, Amanda.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Now I can hear you.
I had to unmute myself while I was lighting candles. So then you know. What have I been doing? I'm still landing. I'm now 2 weeks in the Netherlands. and I was a half a year in Australia. I finally found, after many years, a way to store my books better. So, basically I'm cleaning my space here today, so I can really land. I probably will go and retreat, not in this week, but the next one, a Buddhistic one, to meditate on the last half year. And I went to have some interesting conversations already about democracy and how it's developing actually on a geopolitical level, on beyond nations level, interesting, on constitutional level. And I also went to the first Solid meeting in Amsterdam. So I did as many conversations as possible, as I normally do when I'm on my own. Then I love to go out and meet a lot of people. So I'm having fun. Yeah.
Sounds
And
like you don't have a partner at the moment then.
Sorry?
You do not have I'm being personal now. You can tell me to go away.
I left him in Australia. So either we get back together and find a lot of funding, guys. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to pass the Australian border control and without a huge bag of money to pay for your stay and pay for your visa and pay for your studies and pay. You have to pay for everything. So we made a lot of time there, but it's not yet there. So
how much do they require, out of curiosity?
Well, for example, if you do not have, if you are an investor, they require $5 million.
US
dollars. US? No, I think it's Australian
dollars.
Yeah, that's already a lot less than our, So it's okay at minimum. And then, if you're just coming by yourself and you do not, you're not able to have a work visa or a startup visa or a global change makers fee. I don't know. There's lots of categories, but if you're not super successful or categorized as such to be, then, and you're also, in my case, over 45, you're no longer able to be as an independent being required to come. You cannot be even asked to come by Gov, for example. My age is too old. So then you have to be either in a regional visa or, well, heck, if you don't do that and you just go for your relationship, then you just have to pay for your stay and you have to find out maybe a way to study there. And it lasts at least for 2 years before you're allowed in. And all the time you have to bridge without being allowed to work. So it's more like a time limit. It's like a 2 years investment. And if you study, then it costs a lot of money too, because it's Australia, it's all commercial. It's super Commonwealth. I learned about Commonwealth. It's entirely different than Europe. That's already astounding, actually. So, I don't know. You're just landing. He's landing in the government capital. I'm here in the government capital, and probably it will tie into each other. And it's already very strange to have a relationship as an activist, also, because it's so much tied into your mission. There's nearly no separation between your project and who you're with or something. How do I explain that?
Continuing the personal inquiry with Jaswinder, does that all change if you quote unquote marry? Does that change a legal requirement?
Then you have to know, because it's still like, I don't know. Oh, that's an interesting one. No, because then you are like planning to be married kind of visa, but that still takes a lot of effort and time, and then still you end up studying because you don't know what else to do, and it's not just like you just do that, because then you need an income that also backs that. It's always money related. It doesn't matter. They make a lot of rules, but in the end it's money related. And if you have money, then want to have it. So then you still can't keep it.
Okay.
That's global, actually. It doesn't really matter which border you have. It's problematic.
Okay. Sorry for being so personal. I was curious.
No, it's fine. This is law mostly. And personally, navigating a global world via the internet in a world full of laws that are, and then we're actually promoting in our project that we bring those laws online because we are not citizens there at the moment.
Mhm.
But not all laws are very nice to comply with, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, did we also pick up Alex? Yes, I think we also picked up Alex. Okay. Alex, would you like to optionally check in? I'm going to remove my other self. Going once, Alex? Oh, there you are. Hello?
Yeah, but I'm not getting any volume.
Yeah, your microphone is barely coming through, for me anyway.
I can hardly hear you, Alex.
Yeah, it was the same problem we had with you, I think, 2 years ago. Anyway, Alex, can you indicate whether you'd like to check in or whether you just are okay just proceeding? Sounds like you can't hear
I'm trying
me.
to fix my audio. I've got my mic working, but I haven't
Okay,
got
how
my
about that?
earphones working.
Yeah, you're still coming through softly, but I guess we can hear you.
As long as I've got some sound coming in, I can sort it out.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I just wanted to go back to something you just said, Colin, while you were checking in. And that is, I am just getting back into programming and working with code and developing bits, just the last several weeks. And I noticed a very different feel to what it's like doing this as opposed to 2 or 3 decades ago.
Indeed.
2 or 3 decades ago, I was just, writing code and, taking specifications and, trying to figure out what was the best thing to do. I spend most of my time these days looking for other packages that already do part of what I need done.
Yes.
And then I have to see, okay, so is there something about this package that makes it unusable for me? Is it one particular sort of behavior? Or is it the license? Is it that it's no longer maintained? Is it is it in the wrong language? All these sort of things. So looking for appropriate components to use is the bulk of my time right now. And then
Interesting.
actually writing my code, if I was writing everything, it was like hundreds of lines to get it working. But then once I replaced all that with the right libraries, it was like a page of code. It was all that was necessary, even less.
Yeah, there's terms for these kinds of things with the proliferation of tools.
Yes.
But it depends on how you or what you have to do and what languages, like your domain.
Yes, of course.
If you have to touch the web, it just goes exponential, and that's where you have the most of this analysis paralysis.
Right.
Which framework to use, and then also I've noticed not only in the tools that are available, but in Amanda's domain, it's what people are actually trying to achieve with designing new possibilities, which is more salient to what we're doing here. But it's huge. Even C++ has gone through a whole bunch of changes, and the idea of what you do with smart pointers and unique pointers and making pointers and reserving memory, contiguous memory, right down to the LLVM compilers. Like, it's like the amount of information out there is, like, I'd say, if not 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1 to what it was before.
Okay, so I don't want to get too technical because I think we're going to lose a lot of people, but I did bring it up for a reason. The reason I brought it up is because I feel the same way about social change. Like, if there's already components that are available to be used, are there aspects of it that actually make you wonder? Like, do we look at sociocracy? Do we look at holacracy? Do we look at kinds of, God, I forget all these names, but there's ways to run meetings, there's ways to do voting, there's ways to actually take notes. There's ways to actually put together things on the web. There's actually ways to
Voting was voting was my pet one when I first started thinking about this. But Amanda's got a whole world there.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
And there's a whole lot.
Can I ask why our HCK, is it Holy Colin Kilburn, and why you're a context observer and why we don't see you when you speak?
Because I'm trying to focus on being a context observer. I don't want to get into the weeds too far. A mapper.
It would still help the rest of us see you though. So the rest of us.
We cannot look at you while you look at us.
Yes.
Oh
That's
no,
brilliant.
that was not the intention at all. No, the observer part is is not physically observing. It's cognitively.
No, just to understand what's going on.
No, I'll dial in for you here. I'm just getting.
And the H is for?
Colin, I guess the question was, what is the H in your name?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my first name. For it's a very religious name.
Which one?
Colin.
It stands for Herald.
Harold?
Yeah.
Okay.
With an E or with an A?
With an O.
I just wanted to know what it was. I'm
feeling the old part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Her old. All right, good. Hey, Les, welcome. We just completed a round of optional check-ins, so you can optionally check in if you like, though you suffer by not hearing everyone else's. Would you like to? Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, hey, Les.
All right. Will you do me a favor and repeat that? Because I was actually distracted. I'm sorry.
So we just completed a round of optional check-ins where everyone did opt in to check in. And,
Okay.
So we were completing that. And then my part of it is that because I have a very important meeting with my oldest dog and his veterinarian later today, I'm going to limit my participation today to 1 hour. So I'll actually be departing in about 33 minutes. So I've made Jaswinder host for today.
Oh, I hate to see you leave.
Yeah, sorry about that. But
that's okay.
We have to make a very important decision about Zeus and how he feels and how viable he is for the next several weeks. So I'd like to spend some time with him doing that.
That was great.
And I did bring a number of notes to share with you, but we'll see whether or not that's even an appropriate thing to do in the next 30 minutes. Okay, over.
Did you want me to, can I share something or what?
No, this is just giving you some background.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say hello to everybody. That's all.
So if you'd like to check in, now's the time.
No, okay. Well, all right. I just want to say hello to everybody and wish everybody a fantastic Saturday and keep doing what you're doing to make a difference. And I love great conversations, Sam and all the gang that puts on these conversations, because I feel like I'm learning a lot. So, and it helps inspire me to do more what I'm doing in the community. So if that means anything, I think you're all doing a great job. So I just wanted to tell you my part and share that whatever what you're doing is the right thing, and continue going with it.
I really appreciate that feedback, really do, because we don't often get that feedback about whether or not these conversations are having an impact elsewhere.
Oh, well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you right now, where people do not actually comment or say enough positive things in general, and when it comes to just a little nice comment. So I'm trying to be a person that stand up to say sometimes I think little things make a difference in communication and acknowledging people what they do on a regular basis, because I think that's part of what's going on. It's the little things that make a difference every day, and I try to share that, my thoughts on that, how that does, and you know, I think we ought to slow it up a little bit to try to focus on those little things that are so important in everyday connecting with people and what we do. So Yeah, I think that you're doing a great job. Everybody's doing a great job. It's just a slow process for change when you're talking about just individuals in their own habits. So when you're talking about a collective or a group and you want to try to bring ideas, it opens a big can of worms, Sam. You know, you just don't know what everybody's different. So this is what you get. You get everybody's opinions and beliefs, and everybody can be going there and doing their own thing. As long as they're doing good things, small or big, I think that's all that matters. So I just wanted to tell everybody I appreciate all the good that everybody's doing. I'm sure that everybody's doing what they can, and that's what I think all matters. Do what you can do.
Anyway,
thank you, Sam. Again. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again. So, anybody have anything pressing on their mind? Like I say, I brought 2 items, but I'm willing to let others drive because I know I'm not going to be here very long. Is that breakfast or dinner, Amanda? Or just a drink?
A drink. It's in the afternoon, you know. It's like 5 o'clock. It's time for a little snack and something. And it's Saturday.
You're my daily lemon juice.
You're my drinking companions today. For you, it's breakfast, right?
Yes.
Cheers. Is that a juice?
It's empty right now. Normally it holds my nuts. Normally I drink my nuts.
Good.
Anyway, hey, I wanted to bring 2 possible threads into this conversation because one of the first themes that Jaswinder mentioned today was that he was in previous conversations this week where much of the context setting that was done the previous weeks was lost. And there was kind of like this lack of continuous memory, the lack of momentum from meeting to meeting, which I feel quite a bit actually. So as you know, right around the 2nd year anniversary, I experimented with this thing called Braid, which is a way to do kind of threaded, or as they call it, braided conversations. And so I'm sending a link to you now if you'd like to join. It's basically got some seeded content that I put in there just so you could actually see how this thing would feel. And so if you look at that screen, if you're able to log in, create an account, and then get in there, you'll see that conversations are vertical boxes or panes. And at the top, there could be 1 or more hashtags. Like the first thing I see is hashtag COI and barn raising. And then there's 3 or 4 entries there. Then there's a hashtag on the 2nd column called onboarding. And there's a lot of material there. And then there's another one that was started by Colin that eventually was also tagged barn raising so people can actually see it. Then there's one especially tagged 20191005, which was October 5th.
Sorry, I can't see anything. If I open it, I get a gray screen. And I'm logged in.
Really now?
Yeah, it's completely gray. It's foggy.
Try just going to braid.chat and see what happens.
Braid.chat and without group?
Yeah, without anything else. Just go to braid.chat. If you're logged in, it should just automatically put you into the right place.
Then I still get groups, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't, it has global challenges conversations. And then there's an email box. And then there's a star. And then there is a go back to something. And then there's go upload something in a cloud.
Oh, okay. So you're logged in then, right?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to try and tag you into one of these conversations. So I'm going to go to Amanda Jensenum 74. I'm going to tag you in one conversation. Okay.
Now I see something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the Trello thing. Oh yeah, I know. This is yeah.
No, this is actually not Trello.
I know, but it's what I thought it was braiding. What I would suggest to braid. Braiding is making hair into a. You can. Is it the same word? Sam, is it what girls do to their hairs? Braid?
Yes, yes, yes.
Good. Just to be sure about that. I was thinking, if you normally tune into each other very well, and this group is good at it, then most of your memory comes with, oh, now we look each other in the eyes and we understand we are both present. And then mostly my brain is good enough that everything comes just, poof, like that.
Yes, but you're still young. Not all of us are.
Oh. I was thinking we should break that quality of tuning in with a bit of content, but not over focus on the content, but because then we lose the tuning and then we actually lose our understanding of the whole thing. Well, but that's just
maybe that's a vote for some format where we have
time balance.
Yeah, some time balance. Yeah.
Because, once the group has been going for a while, there are probably hundreds or topics of threads or hashtags that could be picked up. And I would submit that any specific individual, even if they can remember it all accurately, precisely, comprehensively, will not be in agreement with other people within the group who will remember it differently. So some commonly shared representation, which is a map or a transcript or a threaded conversation or a textual summary or some synopsis or an abstract, I think all of that helps, even the notes. So I don't think any particular thing is the answer. I think the aggregate of them is some answer, and we just have to learn how to use them, because right now, I think without them, we rely solely on our protoplasm, organic matter, and mine behaves differently than yours. Jaswinder's behaves differently than the rest of us. And then we all have different versions of quote unquote the truth, which, by the way, I made a point of last Sunday conversation.
This is why the tuning is so important, because it's like you're morphing your neuroplasticities together like this, and then they say, aha.
We have to do that again with you because you've been gone for 6 months,
Sorry. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
It's a natural thing that happens, right? So if we take a long time to tune in one-on-one, then the more we are, it goes up by a factor of X squared, just to do the pairwise tuning. And then if we larger than that, then it's combinatorial. So this notion of tuning, while appropriate and good, I think is insufficient.
Well,
and it's a very high.
More abstract. So you don't go to details. You go to where you sense something is needed or wrong. So it's an entirely different mode of understanding, actually. I find it sometimes very tiring to go into the details all the time, because then I lose the main I just need to know that somebody has details or has topics or I need to understand.
See, I think that's you, but other people who are working on something at a very detailed level really want to know that detailed updated status. They already have that, overview, right? So everybody operates at different parts of the scale spectrum, it seems to me, Like when Colin and I are writing code, we need to know that one particular bit is correct, otherwise nothing works. But when we're in conversations, all we want to basically know about each other is, hey, we're all here trying to do good. Maybe that's sufficient, It's a very different kind of part of the scale. The scale of impact, I think, is something.
But even sometimes my tuning is very precise without me even knowing it. I just know, wait a minute, something's wrong, something's touched here, and then I zoom in. But mostly I don't do that. So, but that's, it has been a development also. You don't go there over one day.
Since I am time limited, I'm very curious because Amanda, you are here with 4 or 5 other men. Curiously, women are underrepresented in most GCC calls, especially this one, I find. This one seems to push away a lot of women. Either that or they don't even take that first step in. So since you are here, maybe asking you pushes you away. Maybe that's what I'm doing, okay? I'm curious about
I could not represent all women, but according to Tim, I'm one of the very rare examples globally of women with expertise in comments and global issues and technology. So I'm sorry.
But let's take you as an example.
Yeah, if the public is agreeing with it, otherwise they should vote.
How do
Yeah.
you do this tuning? What is this tuning? How do you teach us to do it? And are we doing it or are we not doing it?
Yeah, it was funny yesterday. A friend of mine said, "What does your consciousness say about our relation?" And then I said, "My consciousness is not separate from me." So I had to explain to him how to look into the invisible. So for me, I have a lot of conversations with a man about this. By the way, it's not a feminine thing only. A good friend of mine, but first of all, it's just. Do we have really the same conversation now? It's really funny. It's like opening up to understand what your body is saying to you. And it is like the possibility to speak to everything. And then, well, I don't want to be too vague, but I mean, it's from blessing your food basically to not as an exercise because it has been taught to you, but just the inner understanding like I am eating because it's going to nurture me. And this is also the way you can tune into people. It's like, I'm opening up, I don't know whether it's your Facebook or your Messenger or your Zoom to connect to people, which is different than to know a topic. And so, yeah. And I exercised it a lot because I was a lot in communities. And at some point, I just know that a message is coming in before I looked on my phone.
So you said to tune and listen to your body. Where does the message come through?
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Clearly, I have a sensing and a clear audience there. It's for everybody different. I know people that see, for example, but clearly I have a time presence also. So it's just like time bound. So messages come in. And you have sort of a, maybe everybody knows that unrest that you have when you didn't look at your notifications. It's not only an addiction, but it's also your time presence understanding says something I may miss. And it's not only like fear of missing out, but it's another sense of making connection to people that are online with you. And I don't know, somewhere I got it that far that the person that could see with the third eye, and I can just, when he messages me, I wake up. So I don't know, this is really weird stuff. But I have developed sort of skills in that area. And I don't know, but for me, it's also counting, like when my mother said to me when I was small, I was looking in the heater next to where the stove is, where you cook. And there was a little flame, and I asked my mom, what's in there? She said, those are the dwarfs. They're helping us in the kitchen. So she made me dream of things that I cannot see. The perception that there's more than we just, can understand in detail. And you can just trust your sensing. And as you can read faces, as you can speak to Zeus. Basically, this is your instruction to speak to Zeus. You can understand and you can trust that what you feel, if he's in pain or not want to be with you, that it's okay. There's a sensing there that you cannot explain. You cannot speak human language with Zeus, but you can understand that you can be with him. And there's understanding between the two of you. Like a face of a dog can speak to you, well, don't speak the same language. It's all about those sort of things. And if you trust that, it's even far easier than checking 300 million details and still not agreeing with each other and still not having tuned in. So I just find it more easy. And you learn it with check-in circles where people are more personal. You learn it with social media use. You learn it by speaking to your dog. You learn it just by all sorts of means that's possible. You can exercise these things.
Do you find that there are individuals where you cannot get that kind of message, where nothing comes?
Yeah, they are existent. Those that are cut off from understanding that you feel things. It is our addiction to try not to feel and just forcefully linearly do things. It is how our whole world is being arranged at the moment. This is out of distrust, out of not tuning. And once we tune, actually, we don't have to do that much because we know when something's wrong and we know when something is really good. That understanding is also missing, when something really good is coming by, people just miss out of really good stuff. That's really, I wish we can go there. That would be really nice.
So I know I'm doing most of the talking.
I suggest when they're saying things.
Jump in. I just find this an area where I am not an avowed expert in this area. However, I try to practice it. And I've gone through many stages in my life. I've gone through one stage where I was not allowed to feel anything, and that was probably a couple of decades. And I think that even though I try to emerge or embrace more than that now, there's still a part of me that's very Asian, which doesn't express it, even though it's quite strong. So I express it not through exuberance or extremes, but in subtleties and in connection. And I think last week, for example, I don't know how many of you were in last Sunday's unblocking, but there was a very interesting disagreement I had with Anna, where I was talking about a sense of urgency to sort of help the planet become healthier. And I actually used the word anger about that sense of urgency. And he immediately framed it as coming from a fear-based position. And I disagreed with that. I think that, like, Abraham Lincoln said, anger sometimes is quite appropriate. But when I use the word anger, her duality, and I know this is for the record, but it's, last Sunday was also for the record, immediately said I was coming from a fear-based position. And I said, no, I love the planet. I love the neighborhood. I love the people that I'm with. I like to see them healthy. I want to see things thrive. That's the loving place that I come from in trying to sense this urgency. So that did not get resolved, but that was actually mentioned last Sunday. And I think that there's a too strong tendency to say either you're coming from love or you're coming from fear. And even if you believe that, there's too strong a tendency to at least take your first impression and think that you're right when you see, oh, that person must be coming from love or that person must be coming from fear.
Do you see that this is, again, duality? So it's like
Yes.
Duality for trying to be spiritually enlightened people that think they're beyond duality, so they make a new one. So then you're still captured in that, which is interesting. I'm listening to those videos of Matt Kahn at the moment. He's trying to go beyond this duality somehow, but embracing these sort of things. And I think we just also need how do you say that? Healthy, I don't know if I say masculine, but at least healthy understanding of that the functionality of anger is, to drive something, to put things into movement, and to protect. So there's a lot of positive quality, and even to ground, to just, if you just put your feet on the ground and do poof, 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 like this. I don't know the word. You stamp your feet. Then actually you're making straight connections to the planet, It's actually grounding yourself to do something like that. And it maybe you really needed to do that. Why not?
So I observed myself last week that partially I am affected, I notice, Anna pointed this out to me, that because I see the limitation to Zeus's days, I think more about the limitations to my own days. And then I think about limitations for the Earth's days, at least those that we're comfortable with. And that raises in me this sense of urgency. And I'm less inclined now to just sit by and just let these random sayings go by without really, really leaning forward and saying, what is this all about? Is this true? Does this apply to me? You know, is this true for everybody else? Does
What's the urgency?
it represent something that I can learn from, as opposed to just letting it be said and then go by and let it go in passing?
What was the urgency?
The urgency is just death is the urgency.
Ah,
Death of Zeus, death of me, death of the planet, death of the environment that we love, that we know that things work in cycles, but what can we do to help things thrive?
I have a very strange relationship with death. It has never tried to kill me, so I don't know whether it's applicable for me personally. I don't know. I try to, be forever 27, and I just found out 1 year ago that I'm by far no longer 27.
That's something you get used to. It only needs to do it one time.
But so I see other people, and certainly there are some things in decline, or I imagine I get older. I'm now 45, but it's only like 1 year or so that I think maybe I'm not 27 anymore. So it's like, yeah. And then I see other people dying, but who says that I'm going there? I don't know. Who says it's applicable for me?
It's interesting. I think that death is one of those legs on the table of human psyche for everybody. It's one of those fundamental things, and I myself have contemplated it before, and and even with pets, it strikes home, and I think also the psychology between seeing one person in pain or seeing a whole group of people in pain, how you react differently to that as people. As I've mentioned before, that goes to the psychology of charity. If you want to try to raise funds for charity, it's best to put just one child on the focus of the media item as opposed to a whole group of people, because people are more, they've done testing, A/B testing of the ads, and they found that we can empathize much better with an individual or two, as maybe we could with our pet, more than we could with a whole group of people. Anyway, yeah, death, personal or otherwise. And we've seen it come close into this group. I think, I don't know if I can mention people and what their medical things have happened, but it has been talked about here, and there has been brushes with death with people here in our group as well. So it makes you think. And even before this, another lady who was here besides Amanda was Adelaide. Is that her name? Did she come to many barn raisins? Adelaide, yeah. And she went through a whole thing with the death and grieving as well. So it's been quite a topic on here, and I do agree we don't have a knowledge trail of it, and that could have been very interesting and been produced into one of the topic foci, because I do think it is a huge thing. I think it's the underlying premise in a lot of folklore, mysticism, and history of the human race. It's part of, if there is such thing as epigenetic, it's deep within, right? So anyway, that's kind of where I go with that. Not so much on the supernatural, but I do think that if you are aware and are tuned in to your surroundings and your possibilities, you can be more intuitive. And so I think people who are typically like that see more coincidence than others. But anyway.
So for the record, I don't know if I mentioned last week, but all the barn raisings for the last 2 weeks and from here on out are going to be shared on YouTube publicly. So
I know. Were you worried?
no, that's why I think Colin was a little bit measured in the way he was talking about it.
You see that it does something to us.
I think two words come to mind. You know, even if it's not death, which is the extreme case of it, the word to me that's more operative is cyclical. Things come, they go, they have their time, they, you know, have their waxing, they have their waning. Uh, so that's one thing, and it happens to everything in nature, I think. So with people, I think it's natural. The other word I'd like to throw on the table here is syntony. It's that notion of being in tune and in flow with the universe and harmonic with the universe. And it's a word that I first started using when I came across it probably 8 or 9 years ago, or I don't exactly remember when, but I first got to know Alexander Laszlo, and he and his father have done some work in this. But it's a new word for an old concept, you know, that to me is represented by the Tao. And so if we actually are Taoists in that sense, and we're able to tune into the flow of the universe and not try to swim upstream or cross stream, but really, you know, be going with the universe, then we get that sense of small changes that you can intuit, feel, observe, impinge upon. That may be what you're talking about, or maybe these are just words that are trying to map itself onto what you're talking about, Amanda, and to what Colin is talking about, and what Jaswinder's been talking about for quite a while. But I come from, you know, being grounded in the Tao, and so I naturally am very resonant with this notion of syntony and cycles over. And that may be my checkout because it's about the top of the hour. Jaswinder, you're the host. You know the recording is going on. I'm going to go spend some time preparing my packages to get Zeus to the vet. And I'll probably be a little bit affected by whatever happens, but I'll see you guys next time.
Great Zeus.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It seems Sam is frozen. So we are now Colin and Jaswinder and I am. The three of us, right?
Right.
I think we're having a silent moment where Jazz is collecting himself. Can feel it.
Intuitively so. I really don't have much to say, really. I was enjoying the conversation previously. I've matured a fair amount in the last couple of years, and I've learned not to interrupt other people's flow. As you're talking, you are also aware that you're also listening to yourself as well as the other person. That's a four-way conversation on its own. I'm very grateful for allowing me to listen in. I really don't know what else to do today. Do you want to carry on with that conversation?
Don't know. Colin?
Colin, would you like to elaborate on what you mean by intuitively?
Well, I think it's from experience, knowing that when certain people finish saying certain things, it's, I don't know if the word's wise, but can be useful to pause and just let that moment linger as opposed to jumping just to the next thing. And that's what I mean, like maybe some format might do us some good where if we're going to get technical in the tools, it's to aid and facilitate the conversation, not to derail it. That's been a big thing that can break your intuitive thought trail if you get jarred away from your thought trail. So that's part of it. I was thinking as well that one of the simple memory, there's a few, like Amanda was talking earlier about how she wasn't certain why using this tool would be useful when we can just relate to each other at a higher level. And I agree with that, but not as a whole, not as the whole thing. Like maybe if you know what you're talking about and you've had the human interaction, the face-to-face, and then you want to take it a step further and you feel that you're going in circles with that conversation, then that's the time to start mapping things out. Not, don't map because, or for the sake of mapping, but map because you want more understanding of something. And in that sense, the map could, you know, dissolve when understanding arrives, or it could stay as a trail for somebody else to experience. I won't go too far down this thought trail, but that is my thing in these groups, is trying to enhance understanding and conversation. Our conversation understanding, making sure we're talking about the same thing. And having a memory of these conversations so we can move forward from week to week is a lament that we have in this group. And it's because of the generalities of the open forum. And things do progress over a longer period of time, but it's more like a family progresses as opposed to how a business progresses. So it's kind of more of a social group than a business group. So I guess that's to be expected somewhat, that people are going to have different personalities, and that diversity is good. So how do you bring a memory to this so that we can have an intuitive thing that I can say, I know Jazz right now is being quiet because he likes to pause a lot and think. You know, it's just a thing. Sam doesn't like to be interrupted, right? So you get to know these things about people. So is it intuitive or a learned appreciation, or, you know, there's a certain amount of respect you have to have in order to listen in the first place to what the other person is saying. You know, I don't know how many people would be interested in these conversations or trying to move them forward. So if we're to contribute a memory, then one simple thing that I was thinking, I put in the Trello board, Sam every week makes a summary, posts the video, makes a summary notes. There's no reason why we couldn't just make a simple little trail that if you keep following this trail, the next one, the next one, the next one. And then we can maybe annotate it, fill it in or not, but at least there would be the simplest version of a trail. And with that, I'm done. And that's similar to what we were talking about, some other things that we talked about, Amanda, with having not a turnkey way, but a way to bring some memory or some understanding to something that's might have different levels and layers to it. So how do you ease somebody into something? The small, medium, large version. Mm-hmm. So the small version of the trail would just be these summaries linked together in a trail so that you could go from one week to the next. And if you wanted to say, oh, and something else happened here. And then I mentioned earlier that we might be able to integrate a video dynamo machine where you can highlight sections and actually bring the conversation back to life if necessary. You can mark and park certain areas. But that's stage 2. So stage 1 would just be to make this simple trail of the synopsis of these shows. And then if we could put a theme around it, then maybe that would be the intuitive memory that we're looking for. Otherwise, it's just a visual record of the meanderings, I guess. So some meandering is good. So you don't want to stamp it all out. But at the same time, I think people could be more prepared and ready for making their case for what it is they'd like to, if they feel responsible to move something forward. If they don't, then fine and dandy. You know, if you have a gift and you want to share it, you know, how are you sharpening and honing it? And are you getting feedback on it? How do we remember what I did?
Joshua is here.
Oh, I didn't see. Joshua. Has Joshua got the power?
I got the power.
There he is. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm sorry, I'm
Josh.
just literally rolling out of bed. I'm in bed right now, so I'm just rolling out of bed.
Not in bed. You're outside and you're smoking.
No, I'm not yet. Look,
Let me see.
bed.
Oh, you are in bed. Okay, I believe you.
I'm in the bedroom.
Okay, I try to be smart. That's so funny.
You know he's living off grid, right, Amanda? Like
Yeah,
he's got
that's
some
why I
home
have
power
to ask.
station and everything. Yeah, that's why I say if he's at the power, I mean, like, do you have the power?
Oh.
It's
So
getting,
how are you, Jeff?
It's getting kind of hectic. What are you guys doing? I just heard your long, whatever you want to call that. I don't know, a whole hopeful wish, I got the whole thing, Colin, which was beautiful. But what's going on today on Saturday? I just wanted to check in and see if you're raising any bonds or what's going on.
Sam has checked out, and Sam is speaking to his dog. And what I understand is that the dog is very ill, and he needs to decide whether they are going to be each other's companions for some more weeks, or that he has to make other decisions. So Sam is having good conversation with Zeus at the moment. And then we started to speak about how do we have conversations with Zeus? How do we tune in? Do we need a tool, or do we need ourselves as a tool? This is my shortest summary I can make.
Just look at his eyes, man. Come on, you can talk.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe I was just filling in space because Jazz has taken over host duties, and he said he didn't have much to say. So I was just going on the thread of the memory for the group, and a simple thing that I could do as a start that people could follow, sort of from experience, start small. But maybe Jazz could go next, or somebody go next. I know Jazz, he talks about this meditation thing, and he's never really had a chance to get back onto that. And it seems like we're going into that kind of a flow today, more of a intuition, higher level sense-making type of thing. So I don't know, maybe meditation isn't the right thing, but if we each have a certain thing that we like to bring, maybe I would suggest if Jazz had one of those things, he could do that we got some time, don't we? Yeah.
We all do it all the time. You've been doing it. Amanda does it. Josh does it. We're just not aware of the things we're doing because we don't pay attention to it. We start becoming aware of these things and we start giving them names like intuition, the intuitive mind, the predictive mind. It's quite a simple thing. Does anybody here not daydream? Who doesn't daydream?
Yeah, true.
I'm not even in reality half the time, Joss Wender, so I guess I daydream all the time.
Do you remember your daydreams?
I'm in it right now. It just never ends. It's just one long daydream that goes into a night dream that goes back into a daydream. So
You're processing information all the time.
Yeah, Jazz, I've heard it explained like some people, I think Heiner said this, at a certain point, it feels like you're living in a movie, right?
Right.
I think that's the sense, yeah. Is there something to that?
So
here, let's talk to a
the
dog.
The only thing that we have to learn sometime or other is that we don't interrupt our own daydreams, and we memorize them and see why we're going through those thought patterns. It's just like dreaming at night as well. And why we're doing it, what comes out of it. It's like asking a question and you get your answer a day or two later from somewhere deep inside. That's becoming aware. Amanda is starting to become aware. We're all aware to a certain extent. It's just a matter of just going with the flow, improving our own memory. And the best way to
I
do
apologize, Josswinder. I was getting settled. So
you were getting the
my
dog.
apologies.
The best way to do it is just to close your eyes and listen to yourself.
What are you talking about exactly? Meditating?
No, becoming aware. Colin was talking.
Oh, okay.
Colin was talking a little earlier. And he was, to my mind, he was mixing up prediction with intuition. That he was predicting what other people might do next, or that they already do, and they have a certain behavior pattern. And intuition is taking all that information, and again, it's a prediction out of that information. Daydreaming, night dreaming, meditation is taking the information we have and see where it's pointing to or taking us. Spirituality is a completely different thing. Meditation can lead to spirituality. It does, not invariably, but it does. And that's other practices that come in. Or it can happen in different ways. It can happen magically as well.
I was going to mention that there's a certain prediction and intuition are closely related, and also your ability to have lucid dreams and to have a liminal state that you're crossing. So maybe it was prediction, maybe it was intuition. I think I was just reading the room and feeling the essence that, you know, if Jazz had something important to say, he should probably say it. And since he's not saying it, maybe he's waiting for, because I think you've mentioned before, when other people jump into the conversation, it's like, couldn't you just let a little time pass by? So you think about that. What would that have done if you would have let a little time pass by instead of jumping?
Oh, yeah. Alex has quite a responsive mind. He gets recalls of information that he stored, and he likes to blurt it out quickly before he loses it. His memory is not that good. And that can be very annoying. If after a long conversation or a long way of making a point, then there is a pause. That pause is there for people to reflect on what has been said, to digest it and what comes up for them, and not somebody coming in and saying, I know that one. This is the answer. Bang. And it's an answer that's more often than not suitable, and it's detracting others. But Alex likes to do it. He wants to prove a point. He wants to be recognized for what he's doing. And I don't know what to do with that. Yes, Josh.
I think it's his style of communication, and also he's in Australia, so he's up in the middle of the night. So it's like his little hang after he's worked on his computer all the time to come and hang with us and just sort of, hey, here's my 2 cents. So I don't think there's anything other than just love behind it, just being friendly. And I don't think it's as serious, whereas I've gotten to know you a little more and you take things very serious sometimes. And he's just sort of playing around. So when you have a serious person saying something that means something deep, deep in their hearts they've thought about for many, many years, And then you say that, and he goes, "Hey, that's kind of cool." And that's just my take on it. My take. I don't know if I'm accurate, but that's what I see.
If he thought about it for many years, then he would have learned a long time ago when to keep quiet. You're predicting.
But I'm saying you're the one that thought about it for many years. He's the one saying the thing that goes, "Oh, that reminds me of a cliche. 2 wrongs don't make a right. 4 birds travel in packs, and 6 dozen of one and half dozen of." It's a very Australian way of communicating. It's very
No. We all do it. We've all been doing it ever since childhood.
Well, I'm saying Australians have the best colloquialisms, though. They have the best sayings than any
Punjabis
other
are no
place I
different,
know.
the Brits
You
are
think,
no
mate?
Bob's your uncle, Colin, and Susie's your aunt, Josswinder.
different. Bob's your uncle.
I don't know. They have these cool sayings.
Bob's your uncle started in this region of the world where I'm sitting. It's a very old saying.
Yeah, but they're keeping it going. They're the region that keeps using
exactly
it.
what I'm
So
getting.
anyway, that's just, maybe I'm an idiot and that's my perspective, and now I'm doing exactly what Alex does, so I'll be quiet.
Well, I could say something about Alex, but I see Amanda biting. So the thing I want to say about Alex is he does have a purpose here, but
I was just wondering if we have a chewing moment to digest words, then we do not do that in the trills, we don't say, and now we have a chewing moment, or it's all about the chewing or the tuning. In the end, the information really doesn't matter so much because we already learned it. It's already integrated once we have listened to it once. And it comes back, in mysterious ways, actually. It's very interesting. In my life, at least, synchronicity is really interesting. So even if I choose to put it away, then it comes back through another channel. So I don't know. I think it's more relevant to digest what questions came up, what the really urgent and significant issues were that we were worried or inspired or intrigued by, then details. That's my idea. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes me think, Amanda, how many operating systems do we have? Because you were programmed by other people that raised you, but then you reprogrammed you. So you're a Amanda 7.9 or 18,000 operating system. And then I have my own operating system, and Josswinder has his. And I don't know what Colin's working on. Is that Linux? What are you working on there, dude?
That doesn't matter. So I can get into that, but I like this conversation better. That's just looking through socket code.
I'm just saying we all have different operating systems. Like your brain, man, Colin.
Yeah,
I'm cutting you off just because I like it, because it's fun.
There's only one rule in my operating system. This is the greatest hack. I'm going to give away the key today. This is simply, I do not understand limitations.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody locks me up, I'm just breaking up. That's the only rule in my operation system. And that transcended me from one to the other, to the next, to different realities, but it's only one rule applicable. That's it.
I think mine would be curiosity. I think I have the great curiosity to know how and why things work, and I get very annoyed and agitated when people are playing loose and fancy with the reason. So at that same time, I know that we are biological beings, and we're, as Joshua knows, I always relate to a few documentaries of that just explain the fascination with what would you call enigmas, and like The Boy with the Incredible Brain, and just things like that. And Joshua came back with another one that was just as incredible. Like the things that we are is not just facts and hypotheses and theories. I guess science is what I'm trying to say, even though that's what I use for my day job, and I try to keep on the straight and narrow with facts, basically not giving spirituality any footing at all in what I do, other than maybe a humanistic purpose towards what I do. But then you talk with these diverse people who have these beliefs, I guess is what it's called, and how do you sort through that and give them the respect to say what they want to say and how far they want to take these things, and then where do you have to agree to disagree, and then when to without getting into it, I think some worldviews are just so diametrically opposed that there's no coexistence between them, and it can get quite nasty. On another note, Alex, you know, he's not here, so we shouldn't really be beating up on him, but so I won't. And I think Joshua's right to you know, put in a thing for Alex. He's a great personality in this group, and he speaks what he thinks. And I have friends like that as well, who just, you know, wear their heart on their sleeve. But he is here for a barn raising purpose, and he has this idea. And I think, you know, we should seriously try to find a way to make him feel heard and understood, as we should make each other feel that way. So that's kind of what I'm trying to be about, is to make sure at least we hear each other, understand each other. The word steel man. So if I ask you enough questions and have enough curiosity to figure out what it is you think, and then maybe I can understand enough to try to give you my opinion on that, as opposed to the quick black and white, well, I know you're wrong kind of thing. So I think the essence is in playing fairly, having the patience to actually listen and understand and have a memory of what's being said, so you don't just spend your time listening thinking about the next thing you're going to say, but actually listening and trying to follow what the person's saying and steel man their position. And then if you are opposed to it, you've got some good reasons to be opposed to it, and you know, you can have some growth there, and at least agree to disagree properly, as opposed to misunderstanding or this upbringing that people have, where this is the way my family's always done this, or my tribe, so this is the way it is. You see that in politics, you see that in identity politics and things, and I think it goes against the genuine curiosity of figuring out what things actually are, for how much we can actually figure out. Maybe, I don't know, as a last thing, and they say we know very little of anything, so you know, that's a good humble place to start to try to figure things out. We have managed to manipulate things quite well, like gravity, and go to the moon and things, but you know, how much is actually out there, and how much can we actually know? That's a huge question that I think Sam said earlier. People who think they know what the better is are the ones you should be scared of, the ones that are certain of it. But you have to give everybody a listen to. So that's kind of what I'm about. Thanks, Amanda.
What am I thanked for? Sorry.
For mentioning that your key to knowing who you are is that you have no hard understanding of limits. And mine is similar, but not so much limits, but trying to find out where those limits are.
Yeah.
You know.
But just one correction. It's not only, I'm not limitless. But that's very important to say, because otherwise it looks like I have no boundaries. That's not true. But the point is, there is invalid or unreasonable boundaries that people put upon each other. And basically, and now I'm finding out, I'm now 45. And, you know, I'm looking at some things, and I've done a lot of study and work the last 7 to 8 years. It is all about collaboration and transcending or doing something different than hierarchy. And if I'm now looking back, and that's the point that I'm starting to do that, then I think, why are people imposing stuff on each other that is not helping? It's not helping to expand. It's not helping to solve. It's not helping to grow as a human being. It's not helping to understand each other. But there's all sorts of constructs that people make that are meant to bring safety. As long as you keep in your artificial little role, you don't have to worry about anything. You just have to, you know, command and control and comply. And that I do not understand. I always, since I was young, I had something like, but something's wrong. Something else is right. So I kept understanding that something else is right, and kept looking for it. That's the only thing I did. And I found things that are more right than those things.
Seems to be many layers, and the people who have the economic braids get to decide. So
no,
you know,
we get to decide in the end.
Well, in maybe not. It's like, for example, how do we take back our identities from being shepherded for us? Because in the past we haven't been able to, guarantee this, right? So, are we being bullied at this point since we now have the ability to hold our identities, or in these layers, can you have a control over a certain percentage of your identity, like your medical, financial, but what do we know about what other people are collecting on us? And
So that's why I went
does the nation and the world have the right to have a secret file on everybody? And
No, that's why I went to Tim, because he believes that we forgot to organize openness.
Well, the whole point
on the
is
internet
that
as a citizen.
the whole point is that it's too expensive to be able to verify the facts of what you did or who you are. So if you could make it a system that could easily verify and validate what it is that you have,
Colin,
that's what I think is exciting about that project.
yeah, exactly. That was the work. That's the work of Tim, basically.
Yes.
That he did.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And it's not about expensive, but it's about understanding that we have the possibility to do so.
Yeah, but if you wanted to defend yourself now, you have to go through time and all these hoops.
Yeah.
Maybe even getting a visa would be an example. Like how hard it is to
I
get a
know.
visa. What if you had the right? What if you had the right to move somewhere as long as that you check out that you're not a terrorist? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look
That
like?
would be cool, right? But I think the only reason that we don't have that is because we cultivate poverty. And we shouldn't cultivate it anymore. So I have a generational conflict with the people thinking that it is necessary to cultivate poverty. For what reason do we do that? Who wanted that? I didn't want that. So it's not about scarcity, it's about understanding that there are certain things we do not have to engage in anymore. And there are certain things we really want to engage in because it's wonderful. And I believe that there's a fundamental shift going on, and we by far reached the tipping point already. I don't know what's going on, that we're still backward, just it's like arranging the last steps at some point.
Again, I see it in layers of solutions, because some things have a great inertia to them and you can't just change them, like bringing in cryptocurrency. It has to have the legal changes behind it, and then then you have to deal with states, and you got to deal with federal, and you got to deal with global. And so what's the most important? Food, hunger, shelter, medicine? Are those the ones we hit first, or is it identity we hit first, or do you have to hit them both in order to make sure you're counted? I think you have to hit both, but it's almost like a new system has to come in to replace the old one without destroying it on the way.
And how beautiful it is that we are now having this discussion, because I think 1 year ago, without us already having engaged in all these conversations, for me, it's an eye-opener. Yes, we can change fundamental infrastructure. Why not? And yes, we can have a different view on that. Why not? And by far, most activist people, or people who are struggling for a better world, still think, oh, there are some things we cannot change, but we can just talk about it, and there's also interesting constructions for it. So I think a lot of things are opening up at the moment. If you look at it positively, then it's there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of opportunities opening, and I'm like, that's going to be quite interesting. I'm curious after Jasmine there. I hear a bird.
Yeah, there's birds around here.
Awesome. They're lovely.
A cute little warbler one came right next to my foot yesterday with a little beak, and it was like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?" I was like, "Hey." Yeah. The dog likes to chase the squirrels and the birds, so I think they're having a little situation going on.
That's awesome. Jazz? Any wisdom to add?
Whatever I say at this stage might not be the right thing to say. I was just thinking about some of the perceptions that have been said about me, whether I agree with them or not, they're out there. It's great to listen. Gives me an insight which I didn't have before. Somebody mentioned lucid dreams. Who mentioned lucid dreams?
Colin.
Do you have lucid dreams, Colin?
Sometimes. Maybe it's just a lack of not sleeping deeply. I don't know.
That's good. The other thing I just would like to throw in there is that we all process information. Everything we do is processing information and storing it. And moreover, bits that we don't want, what do we do with those bits? How do we get rid of those? Do we or don't we? Or are they stored too?
Josh, is it summer or winter at your place? Sorry, just curious.
Yeah. The cold weather is coming in quick. It just dropped about 17 degrees yesterday. So what is it? It's fall. It's in the middle between summer and winter right now.
Hmm.
It's 52 degrees Fahrenheit.
I only do winter this year. I came in the winter to the winter, and then I went back to the winter. But the winter in Australia is like 30 degrees and you can go swim. Sorry, it's really funny. And it's like you're going to a world where everything's upside down.
I'm laughing because I had a roommate from Australia that had winter in Australia, then winter in New York, then winter in Australia again. I was like, dude, what are you doing? You got to flip the time here. You're supposed to be chasing the summer. And he was like, oh, I hate this cold. Oh. It's like, why?
Yeah, but
what are you doing?
But the winter in Australia is like, I was in the subtropical area, so it was really 30 degrees. It's for Australian understanding, that's not winter. But it's cold for there, you know. Normally it will be 40 degrees or I don't know, whatever. Because I understand that it was cold because that area you only wear your shorts the whole year through. It's like 2 or 3 days with rain. And when I came back to the Netherlands, there was rain the first night, and I was just like, well, going outside, like, rain. It's like new
liquid
from the sky. It's like, sorry, it's just, I'm still getting used.
I'm curious, has anyone here ever lived at the equator? That's always interesting. Where were you, Jaswinder?
Uganda.
Uganda? Wow.
Were the people even keel in Uganda? How was their emotional state? Just the sun is always setting at the same time and rising at the same time.
There's a very slight variation. I was about 1 degree north of the equator. So it's not noticeable. And there's no weather, it's just a climate and the rainy season, and that's it. Every day is hot. Nights are cool. You can go down to freezing some nights. And days are hot. You can go up to about 30, 35 degrees. It's predictably good.
Does that spill over into the personalities of the people there? If you know, when you can always know that it's going to be predictably good, can you predict that in their attitudes? Because I know weather changes attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different kind, it was a completely different time space. It was a long time ago. People lived differently. They lived much slower lives. Even in the UK at that time, people lived much slower lives, much more friendly. Technology was in its infancy. Cars were sort of, well, they were a luxury item. They were not advanced cars. Motorcycles, everything was radios. Television was just coming in. Even in the UK, not everybody had a television set. Most people had radiograms, a record player with a radio built in. People were more sociable. They went out to events, went out to each other's houses and met each other and talked and ate and that sort of thing. People walked. People knew their neighbors because they saw each other every day. UK was pretty much the same when I came over here in the late 60s, mid 60s. People talked with each other, they knew each other. It was later with the experiments of the high rise and commuting to work, that was different. Yeah, people were pretty much predictable. They were calm, much calmer. There wasn't much to upset them. You went to work was predictable, paid, you paid your bills, a little bit saved, a little bit left over for saving or a beer or two with your friends. So the real change started with the change from that lifestyle to the faster lifestyle, which came in the 80s. The present system was started in the 80s, a throwback to pre-war system that was eradicated during the war and post-war. It was much more socialistic. The capital system was brought back by the capitalists who wanted to be the controlling people, and they are. And right now we're going the other way, or we're trying to. That's the whole thing. That's been ongoing for a long time, thousands of years even, from the feudal to the socialistic. Awareness is increasing because we can talk about it much more so. It's not as controlled as before. We have this technology. You have to go on your own. You have to excuse me, I'll take the little one to the toilet. Back soon.
So if I may ask, was Sam on the call earlier and then he had to go for the dog? Is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, he needs time to be with his dog.
You just missed him. I was kind of
right.
I was kind of like starting the second half with the idea of this, putting these summaries for a knowledge trail. It's just an idea, like in the posts of that board, that he wanted to go over some of those things today, but I think Amanda and him got into an offshoot conversation.
A what?
An offshoot. What do you call it? They segued a different way. They kind of got into
Sidetrack.
Yeah.
Don't know which sidetrack it was about intuition, and he needs that to speak with Zeus. So I think it's the main issue for today.
Well, what I meant to say was that he had mentioned he had planned on going over some more information, but he never got to it.
True. Oh, he got other information there.
Yes.
I think it was just, needed for him.
No, I agree. I think he appreciated that a lot. He didn't mind at all.
I think Zeus doesn't want to go yet.
Well, I saw a picture of him, and he didn't look like he was too. I don't know. I'm not a dog, but he looked like he could be in a lot of pain.
No, that's bad. Oh, we'll hear what happened. How old's your dog, Josh?
Yeah. It's not my dog.
Oh.
I don't own that dog. I'm just the brother. It's my mom's dog. So that's my older sister, actually.
That's good.
So.
That's lovely.
Yeah. She's 10 years old, so she's definitely has more experience than I do with being a dog, and I just like we bonded a couple weeks ago because my mom went away for a week and a half, so I was her caregiver for a week. Mm-hmm. And so now she just kind of hangs out and checks in with me and like, hey, how's it going? So
that's sweet.
Yeah, she's a cutie. She's growing on me. I'm getting to know her. Like, I like that she likes attention, but she's not an attention whore, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I understand.
So she's kind of she'll just like, when she wants you to pet her, it's like, okay, and we're done, and then she walks away.
Wow. I don't know. It's
kind of like a cat.
Yeah, I like it to go. If you live outside like you do, and then all the animals that come to you, that's just wonderful. So in that sense, I miss Australia a lot.
Yeah, they're curious, those little guys, like all the different creatures. I sometimes catch the lizards listening to the conversations.
Good.
They try to sneak up on the wall and just like, what are you guys talking about? And I know they're listening. Like, it's at first I was like, people are like, you're crazy. They're not listening to your. I'm like, no, they're listening. Like they are. When you're talking about something good, you can see they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But I'm curious to know, like, when you say limitless, the more I study information, I was reading up on some old technology of frequency changing to destroy cancer cells back in the 1930s. And then I just read up on like a brand new company that's doing the same thing.
I saw it.
And it's like, can we just have that radio frequency ultrasound device in modern medicine? Like, what are we waiting for? Why are we in the Stone Ages of medicine?
Did you see the video of Greg Braden? It's a 4-hour video. It's about, I don't know, heart frequency or heart connectedness or something like that. And in the middle somewhere, sorry, there is like one.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's people singing, and they sing towards a person that has cancer cells, as in the understanding that the person is whole and healthy, and then it just disappears. That's an interesting thought. So that kept with me, like, if you focus on the problem, then it's not going to be solved. But if you focus on wholeness, it's a different thing. I don't know. These sort of things, they keep coming, and they keep with me because I just don't forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's real. It's there's a form of Chinese medicine I was practicing called Qi Ni Song, which is internal Qi massage. And to learn that practice, you have to learn, I think there's 5 tones. And then at what semi-quaver, like how you do those tones, but it's a like there's different tones that changes the 5 organs inside of your body.
Wow.
And it's all about the stomach, starting off with massaging the lower intestine, because that's where things usually start getting blocked. So if they've had that knowledge if you study Vedantic medicine, the Vedas, the herbs, there's herbs on this planet that what I learned from Chinese medicine and then from Vedanta is it's an activation. So you kind of poison the body slightly, then you heal it, then you cool it, then you poison it a little bit more, agitate it, and then you have another one. So it's the sequence of the herbs. It's not one herb, but having a pepper and specific herbs that actually are like poisons to the body will cause your body to put out other hormones and things to counteract that. And then once your body is producing those chemicals, then you give it another herb. And it's that sequencing of those herbs and how you put that into the body, which is, to me, what really good Asian food is a sequence of medicine. If you think of like Thai soup, like the galanga leaf inside of the, what's that famous Thai soup that everyone likes? Do you like Thai food, Colin?
Yeah, they have a noodle, Thai noodle. What's it called? Thai Express, I think. It's a fast food. It's fast
I just
food.
remembered it. The Tom Yum Kai. Have you had Tom Yum Kai or Tom Yum?
No,
soup?
no. I've only had a few. I usually get the noodles with beef and broccoli, I think. But it's probably a Canadian version of Thai food. I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't sound Thai.
No bugs in it.
If you ever have Tom Yum soup, the type of spices that are put in it, it's very healing soup. Very powerful lemongrass, and there's a galanga leaf. I forgot the other peppers they put in it. And then you can have it with or without coconut milk. So it'll be Tom Yum Kai or Tom Yum Som. One is with coconut, one's without coconut. But the amount of, like in the African culture or cultures throughout the continent, there's advanced algorithmic ways of braiding things together and making fences and making bowls and hats. And they learn that over thousands of years of ways of braiding mathematically. And I just think over time, we've come up with the most advanced knowledge that's not being used. I just don't, like, we just scrapped it all and built a plastics, machine in China to stamp out the bowls. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm ranting, but I do feel that we have all of the knowledge that we need to do anything we want limitlessly on every front of everything that there is, from science to art to medicine to crafts to everything. Like, I was just reading about I'm trying to remember the name of the pharaoh in Egypt, but they found it was more riches than the other famous pharaohs. Sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet. My brain's not activated. I'm trying to remember Tutankhamun. Like, he's famous because of the time that they found it. It was all over the news. But they found the King Tanis in 1942, right when World War II was started. And it was in France, it was in the news because a French guy found it, but no one heard about the sarcophagus of King Tanis because it was bad timing in the news. but archaeologically, that was one of the biggest finds in the history of Egypt in the modern last 100, 200 years. And the technology behind the way that the tomb was set up and the way that the structure was made, I bet that's a better way to create microchips on a processor. I just feel like all the knowledge is there. Does that make any sense, Amanda?
Sorry.
What I'm saying? Am I just...
No,
It's okay.
You say all the knowledge is already there, and then I missed some of the details. I was just slightly, my attention.
No,
I'm
rambling. So I was gauging my audience. I saw you check out. I saw Colin checked out. I saw Joss Winder eating. So
but you had it about
I just kept rambling until I had attention.
You were talking about microchip. I don't know. Can you repeat that part? Because then I'm on board again.
Weaving.
Okay, so let me get your brain back to where I am. It's think of Tiwanaku, like in Mexico, that pyramid of the sun. Think of looking down at a pyramid structure.
Yeah.
And the way the buildings and the pyramids are set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you often see on the internet, they'll show modern technology like a microchip. And if you overlay that placing of those buildings onto a microchip, it's a really great way to flow energy through a silicon wafer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do make sense. We speak about ancient knowledge versus modern technology, right? And how the relation could be.
I'm thinking that the way that things could be arranged, if we just took the wing of a bird and really looked at the bone structure of that bird and then created flaps in a building.
Yeah.
I mean, just biomimicry. It's all the knowledge is right here. Do we want to use it for other things?
Yeah.
Do we want to build a car where the doors come out like that Tesla car? It comes out like a wing of a bird and it flips up.
Yeah, it's terrible. I was in one in New Zealand. I couldn't get used to it. I was like, what is this, a Batmobile? What's going on? I was thinking of Batman. And then you walk like this, and then you have to take care that you're not next to a light on the sidewalk. When you open your door there, go like that. And then you don't have to you bump your head to the door in the night. I was totally disoriented. Sorry. But it's interesting that it's a bird's wing. It's true. Or a Batman. Bat wing. I don't know. It's so funny. I
it's
like
a good
idea
start.
Of the pyramid structure. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, thinking outside of the box like that and allowing for our modern stuff to be as ubiquitous as a beetle or a dragonfly or whatever, just utilizing the technology that exists in, like, I'm fascinated by octopuses, or octopi, I should say.
Ooh, you should go to Japanese pictures of that one. Yeah. Yeah.
They'll run with their two, they have 8 legs, but they'll run on 2 at the bottom of the ocean and just run. Like, they're amazing creatures, and they'll change shape and texture and color, and they have 25,000 more genes than the human being.
Wow. I don't know.
And they have a little beak on their mouth. They got a little tiny beak, but their body is completely fluid, so they can go through the tiniest cracks and crevices as long as it's the size of their beak. The only thing hard on their body is their beak.
Wow. Well, I was fascinated by the pyramid plan and energy flow.
Yeah.
There's this association, because I know, like, Tesla had a plan to have wireless electricity for everyone for free or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then there's like this frequency stuff that's just mind-boggling. I mean, what we can do with that. And
cymatics.
So what?
The cymatics. You said the frequency stuff.
Cymatics.
It's where you take up the...
Yeah. In the water.
But imagine if things could shape yeah, imagine if you had a device like this little box, and then I put a sound to it and it shifts and folds like origami and changes into a cover for your quartz crystal. But I'm saying if you had something that can move and shape like a origami robot, but it had fine particles of dust that could shape by sound and then hold their shape.
I'm a believer in sound. Absolutely. Yeah. But we just have to
I want something that turns into a fork and a knife. Like,
be careful what you
it's
wish
a pencil when I need it. Oh, I got a Swiss Army knife. I got that already.
That's good. You need it. No, I mean, if we start wishing stuff, that you better make the fork and knife come with food.
It's interesting. I'll come in on that where.
Well,
I'm sorry, Josh. I come in on that because I've been thinking about Star Trek for a while, and you
no,
guys
go ahead.
You guys keep getting closer and closer to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of the fantasy
Yes.
you have as a geek, right? And also not only like Star Trek is going off into the future and finding these other cultures that, you know, the prime directive not to interfere with them, but you know, they always end up getting intermingled somehow or other, which is always, or their technology that, you know, that they envisioned back then that we kind of have now, right? Like with the communicators and the medical advancements and things. It's kind of interesting how futurists would see these things. But more mind-blowing, to catch up to the previous conversation, is it possible in the past that we already had a highly advanced society that got toppled, right? So that there's theories out there that, you know, there's different history of migration of humans and genes and things. It's just so weird. I don't want to get too far into the History Channel and alien adventures, but you know, there's a whole lot of geeky things that you can really think about when it comes to the past, future, and the future.
Sorry, Colin, I'm joking with my friend who thinks he ended Atlantis, and I do therapy with him. I don't know whether it's true. I'm just joking with the whole situation.
I have to take a lot of these spiritual things with a grain of salt because it's an individual thing, right? And you have to respect the individual's right to feel whatever they feel. You know, and who knows if we can't detect it or prove it, right? Like people could experience different things. Like people see colors when they hear music. Like a G has a green color and an A has a yellow color. I was just listening to it.
Colin, maybe everything that we discover already is there. So when we discover, it's just like, okay, and then maybe it's not so new. It's just like,
well, it's new to us. It's new to us, or how we can understand it to utilize it. Or I think in the olden days, I'll say back in, you know, caveman days, they say, where we'd see something and be fearful. Like, for example, lightning, right? What is lightning? Boom.
No, but I really mean déjà vu. So I don't mean it's new. I mean, when something is new, it's actually a déjà vu. It's like recognition.
I don't trust the brain.
The whole universe is already in us. So why should anything be new at all? I mean, if we look inside.
Deja vu is really a really weird experience. I've had it several times, and I don't trust a lot of things that happen in the brain now that I've seen what the brain is actually made of and how it works and the science about the brain. It's like, I'm just glad mine's working okay. You know, I think it is anyway.
How do you say it? The unbelieving Thomas?
Doubting Thomas? I'm a skeptic, yes, but you know, I'm also aware that I only know a very small fraction. So I really, you know, it's a long, curious conversation. That's all I can tell you.
It's an increase, right? Doubting Thomas from being an atheist.
Well, I don't, you can't bait me into a religious conversation here.
I was hoping that you would, you know, that you would spit out the coffee that you're drinking by smiling, but it's not happening.
No, well, you know, I there's no sense of insulting people unintentionally, right?
Oh yeah, that was another interesting one of yours. To disagree only intentionally. Are you drinking coffee?
I think that's the programmer's fuel, I believe. It's true in my case anyway, the stereotype.
Okay, good. Check.
I'm not programming, Colin, so I'm drinking grape juice.
Variety is the spice of life, definitely.
Yeah, I watered it down with water too, so there's no sugar. The sugar is lessened.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, I'm getting just enough sugar to keep this conversation going because I have no brain cells this morning at all whatsoever. Like literally zero. Like I could just jibber jabber and have a conversation in a different language that nobody knows. Like that's about where my brain is right now.
So Jazz, it's 2 o'clock. Just to give you a reminder, I know you might be meditating. We might lose you for a half hour. Just kidding. But you know,
in the afternoon.
What do you think? What do you think? You're the host. I don't want to presuppose anything.
Now, shall we do checkouts? Or continue?
My checkout will be in a language that I just made up on the spot, so I don't know if anyone wants to hear that. Papadiba sanawa ipatupa sepapola bola 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 selalawa windote. That's my checkout.
Yeah, you're going to get lots of donations now, Josh. I just want to know they're going to start rolling in.
Yeah, that's why I moved up here, Colin, because they can't stick me in the psych ward. It's an hour and a half away.
No, I didn't mean that. Now that you've created a new religion, you're gonna be wealthy.
No, I'm not going to be wealthy. I'm going to be stuck in the psych ward. Come visit me in LA.
I think Polynesia is going to recognize your language.
Yeah, I guess I could check out with, I think, go for another nice autumn walk if it's not raining, and then get back to doing this code. And hopefully the light at the end of the tunnel is coming for me as far as all this employment stress. But hey, it's a job to get a job, so what are you gonna do? Yeah. So anyway, I'll check.
Debug.
Yeah.
Debug.
No, just hope Sam's doing well with his conversation.
Debug.
Yeah. Hope Sam's doing well with his trials with Zeusy.
Zeus is staying.
10 puppies. Zeus
is not going yet.
Well, unless something miraculous happens, it probably won't be long. I think Sam is.
No, but he will be with us still. He's fine.
I guess it's kind of like up to the vet. They know best, right? So
no.
I think, well, the vet can
Zeus
tell you
knows
if they're
best.
in pain or not, right? And you can tell kind of yourself, right? You don't want to have an animal in pain. That's,
No, but Zeus knows. Zeus knows. I think Zeus.
Oh, Zeus will tell him. Okay.
Yeah, Zeus will speak. I think Zeus is gonna hang around a bit longer. Just like a couple of hours or days, or I don't know. So, and then I'm happy to have these pondering conversations. I think they're lovely and inspiring and fun. I don't know. And I'm happy to see us all scattered over the world, having different drinks at the same time. I think that's the fun of it. So, yeah, cheers. My beer is gone. Yeah.
Thus speaks Zeus Bostra.
Yay. Zeus-Trostra, wonderful. That's awesome. That's a real honor.
Well, I don't have much of a checkout. It's been lovely just sitting here and cogitating. Thank you very much for your company.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, why not? Thank you so much. Lovely.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Work, Colin. Good to see you guys.
Thank
Get
you.
it done. Get her done. Cheers.
Cheers.